Hi, I'm Christopher Rode, and this is part 2 of my 4-part series looking back at the Nintendo Game Boy. Today we're going to look at one of the system's most underappreciated gems. Most people will tell you that there were only 3 classic Ninja Gaiden games on the NES, before the series got rebooted in 2004 on Xbox. After all, there was a cart released for the SNES called the Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. But did you know that there was a Ninja Gaiden 4? Well, not exactly. It's not called Part 4, but there was a 4th game in the series released on the Game Boy in 1991, right on the heels of the first 3, called Ninja Gaiden Shadow. The game was originally developed by Natsume as a Game Boy port of the NES title Shadow of the Ninja, before being taken over by Tecmo and remodeled as a Ninja Gaiden game, which only added to the confusion surrounding it. To make matters worse, in Australia and Europe, the game was rebranded as Ninja Warriors. By not specifically titling the game Ninja Gaiden 4, Tecmo may have relegated a great game to obscurity. The plot, such as it is actually set before the events of the first Ninja Gaiden game, technically making this a prequel. Not that plot matters much here, you move to the right and kill things. The gameplay is your typical side-scrolling action. Try and make it to the end of the level, collect power-ups and extra health, and stab the fuck out of everything. 6 hits and you're dead. There are 5 levels in the game, each of which ends with a boss fight. The bosses in the game are somewhat generic, although some of them are a little bit more creative. Oh, this guy's annoying. This boss has this like little miniature guy that kind of follows him around. I guess they're buddies or something. And if he touches you, then he will kind of cling to you and slow you down. He doesn't actually do damage. Oh, you can see now I've got him. I don't know what this guy is supposed to be. Like, is he like a child? Or maybe an elf or something? I don't really know because, presumably you are, a human being. And presumably he is just like a roided out kind of, Hulkamaniac. He's like Dolph Lundgren in Rocky IV, basically. But what's this little guy? Because he's like the size of like your leg. The thing about boss fights like this is that you really have to be patient and use a system. See, I got impatient again. I wanted to just run up to him and start hacking at him. And you have to just stick to that system. You can't just, run up and wail on the guy. You have to take your time. Of course, he takes like 1,000,000 hits, too. I think this map of America behind him, it's like, are these the places that he's, gonna be doing evil in, I guess? Like, he's got like Los Angeles and San Francisco and New York and some other city there. Can't quite tell what it is. One of them's kind of blinking. I wonder if that's where we're supposed to be. And I guess we're in some kind of a shipping yard. There's like a boat in the background and some crates. This guy looks like he's wearing MC Hammer pants. Some amazing shoulder pads he's got there too, don't you think? Even his pants are kind of jiggling a little. See that? They're kind of bouncing. One thing that might upset Ninja Gaiden purists is that unlike the first 3 games, there is no wall jump move. However, what you get instead is a grappling hook which gives you the ability to reach higher up areas, avoid oncoming enemies, and cling to surfaces. It's a lot of fun, and I like how you're not prevented from attacking while using it. You can also jump up to cling to the ceiling without using the hook, providing that you're within jumping distance, and you can jump down to cling to the underside of platforms too. Kill these guys, oops. Another thing I like about this game is that when you get hit, like I just did, up on the ceiling, it doesn't cause you to bounce back or fall off the ceiling surface that you're clinging to. You actually stay exactly where you are, which is really helpful. You have to be so coy with these guys. Look at this. It's like they're so shy. You have to be like facing the other way or they get self-conscious. I hate these fire guys. They just don't give you enough time to fucking react. Oh, God. The controls are simple and tight. Having a limited set of moves and abilities here isn't necessarily a drawback. On the contrary, it makes for fluid and intuitive gameplay, the kind where you don't have to think about what your hands are doing. The action in the game is fast. It doesn't suffer from the slowness of some other early Game Boy titles, like Castlevania Adventure. It's also very satisfying. It's great hitting stuff with your sword and watching it go boom! Everything explodes in this game. The machines explode, the robots explode, the people explode, even you explode when you die. Another thing I love about this game is the sense of epic scope. For such a small game, the designers really tried to make it seem bigger than it was. Take this mid-level cutscene. It's not necessary to have in there, but it really adds to a sense of grandiosity. The first time I played this game, when this happened, I knew I was in for an adventure. The graphics are very good for an early Game Boy title, with clearly defined character sprites, nice-looking textures, and multi-layered backgrounds. In some levels, there is even a parallaxing effect in the background, where elements closer to us will move by faster than elements that are further away, giving an enhanced sense of depth in the image. The cutscenes are obviously not on par with the cinematic interludes in the NES games, but they're acceptable. The music is awesome. The fast tempo and syncopated rhythms mirror the intensity of the gameplay perfectly. The melodies are catchy, and you'll find yourself humming them days later. You know that when they make a power-up like that harder to reach, it's probably a one-up. Like, it's probably one of the good power-ups, you know. I always hated that in games when they make an item or a power-up really, really hard to get, where you actually have to do kind of like a trick shot to get it, and then it ends up being like something you didn't even want or need. That pisses me off. But this game's pretty good about that in terms of actually rewarding you for doing the trickier stuff. Use my grappling hook. There we go, got an extra life. The difficulty may not be as bad as the other 3 Ninja Gaiden games, but this is still a hard game, particularly the last 2 levels and the final boss. When you get to that final boss, get ready to die and die and die and die. Shit. I'm fucked. It just wasn't happening. Ah. Don't you hate that? When you hit the button and it doesn't. First he'll hit you with lightning bolts, which follow you around and which, for me at least, are a lot harder to dodge than they look. Once you've hit him enough times, he'll mutate into a second form and attack you with giant chevrons of death. The problem is partly that you're expected to duck under this object and then jump over the next one, but you can't jump when you're also hitting down on the D-pad, so often in the heat of battle, you'll try jumping out of the way only to find yourself frozen in place because your thumb was still just a little bit on the D-pad. The trick is to be precise in your movements. Oh, damn it. Yes! Whew! Boom. There you go. Ninja Gaiden Shadow. A hard game, but a great game. Somehow the castle is like receding into the ground, like there was like a sinkhole underneath it or something. I don't know what killing the giant robot had to do with making a castle sink into the ground, but it's symbolic, you know. Some people might fault this game for being very short. Providing you can play it without dying, you can finish the whole thing in 30 minutes or less. But that's not unusual for an early Game Boy title, and the same could be said about games like Super Mario Land and Operation C. For me, it's not much of a flaw. As a kid back in the late 80s, having the ability to take an 8-bit game like this with you was mind-blowing, given how primitive handheld games were before the Game Boy. And in the end, I'd rather have a really good short game than a really long, bad one. So that's Ninja Gaiden Shadow on the Game Boy. It's a great game, and if you like classic side-scrolling action, it's definitely worth your time. Join me again next time for part 3, and we'll take a look at another overlooked Game Boy classic.